All right, all right, all right. Okay, I'm done. Bada bing, bada boom. There you go. One kitchen sink faucet installed. That happened to be a Moen. If you want to watch this video series, that's what's coming up. Well, this video, it's time for me to install a kitchen faucet. And the one I'm going to install is from Moen. M-O-E-N, Moen. And this is the one we're going to be installing. You're going to help me with this, and I hope that you're going to learn some new things along the way. If you want to check that out, stick around. Now before I get going, obviously I'm going to pull all the parts out. I'll probably set them down here on the floor. I don't like putting them on a dining room table or kitchen table or anything like that. Okay, make sure you're mindful of stuff like that. Even on a countertop. I'm at somebody else's house, my auntie's house. We're going to be installing this. I'm just going to set this stuff down here. I'm going to make sure the instruction sheet here. I did notice it says scan QR code for instructions. Okay, and I hope that it also comes with an instruction sheet. If it doesn't, I'll have to figure out what to do, because I don't usually do lots of things such as that. They used to have instructions, but I'll get it all pulled out. We'll get going here in a minute. Okay, I'm getting ready to install this faucet, and yes, no directions anymore. How cheap can they be? But they do that, and you're supposed to take a picture of that. You got all the full directions there. In case you need to read the directions, I urge you to read the directions. Now, what I've seen, this one looks pretty much the same as the other one. See how long these cords are for the hot and cold water. This one happens to have a red thing on it, and it says on here, I don't think you can see that, cut to remove, cut to remove. And that, I think, is just to remind you, in case this piece of tape is off, that this is the hot side. See, you don't want to pull this off. This is the hot water side, this is the cold water side, okay? And I'll cut this off because I know this tag's here. Okay, and you see here's the quick little connection for the hose, the handheld hose, and here's the handheld hose piece. And see, it pretty much looks like the other one. See, remember, there's a little clip here, and you depress that, and you can pop that other thing out of there. Okay, and it's all on the directions. Okay, and the other thing, I know I'm going to have to put this back on. I have to be careful to see which way to install this little gasket. And see, here's the other gasket, and this thing popped in there with the rubber on the outside. That's if you're going to use this. And because see, if your sink only has one hole in it, maybe it's only got one hole in it, you could just put it right there. This one happens to be this sink is called a 4-hole because this is where the garbage disposal aerator is. So there's a hole here. That's called a 4-hole sink. And we've got 3 holes, so obviously we've got to cover up those 3 holes with this. See, that's going to go right in there like that. That's going to cover up those 2 holes. Now let's say you've got a sink that's only got 2 holes. It's only got 2 holes, and they're centered in here, wherever they're at. One you can use for the garbage, or I say garbage disposal, the aerator for your dishwasher. The other one you can use for your faucet. Now those, sometimes it gets kind of close if you're going to install this kind. Now see, this it has the handle on the side there. So when you open that, there's still enough room. If it was close, if you only had 2 holes to do it, but it's really tight though. Or if you didn't want your air gap, you can install your gap for your dishwasher a different way, and you could put a soap dispenser right there. Or let's say you want a soap dispenser, you got the garbage the air gap for the dishwasher, and you've got you want to put one of these, you're left-handed, let's say. You want to put your pump, your soap pump here. Now you can decide where to put your faucet, and then you can get a blank plate. You'd have to get a blank plate, a white one probably, or because this is stainless steel. I say stainless steel, it's just plastic with a stainless steel cover on it basically, or this one could be metal with stainless steel on it. Some are different, okay? And so you could get a blank plate for one of these holes, decide how you want everything configured. If you wanted, you could do something like that, but we're not doing anything like that. We're going to use this, okay? I'm going to put that in there, and then I like the fact they give you this little tool. Let's show you that. Okay, that tool is going to be for this nut, and see it fits right in there. And then it's got a hole here, and it's got a hole down there. So you tighten it up by hand. Then you take a screwdriver, Phillips screwdriver, so it fits through the hole, or a small standard screwdriver. A regular one won't fit through that hole. And then you use that as a crank. You hold your hand there and crank it and tighten it and tighten it. Okay. If I had that tool, I could have possibly undone that other one with this tool, but I didn't have one. Okay, and so that makes it nice and easy. That's the only thing that's going to tighten up. And you see, let's look at the old sink. See there? There's a metal nut and there's a plastic nut. Look at over here. Here's the new one, here's the metal nut, and here's a plastic nut. Okay? Same thing. Here's the weight for this one, and there's the weight for the other one. And the thing on the weight, let's get you set up here again. The thing on this new weight that looked kind of slick, you just unclip it, and it pulls apart. Now see, this has this metal, this little round thing. That's where your hose is going to be. They just had that in there for shipping, and then you just snap it together. There's your weight, and that's pretty heavy. I don't know how heavy that is. A couple pounds maybe. Okay. And they use it. They use that, and this one had a little clip, and you've got to use a little screwdriver and stuff, and then this thing pulls apart. And before that, they had a split one with this. You put one side on, and then you put a screw in there, or maybe two screws, and clamp it on there. Any types of things, but you've got to use your weight. Okay, so there's our new weight for that. And see, for this thing here, after this goes down the hole, this goes up. This goes up. I'm trying to hold this in one hand and kind of show you what this kind of looks like. See, as it goes up, it's gonna go around. It's going to go around these pipes. That's why it's got the notch in it. See, like that. See, and so that's the only thing that's going to tighten up underneath there. That's something. And then the nut goes on that, and then you've got to put that on. And that's what's going to hold this whole thing up there. And then you're going to use your little tool before you hook on the other part. See this plastic nut. After you tighten that up, then you put this plastic nut on there. That's gonna hold your handheld wand up in there, okay? And you'll see all that on the directions, okay? And then on the handheld wand, you just snap it into there. And then there's a button on it that you can push and it will come off, okay? So, you see this, let's just kind of give you a quick and dirty here, on here. Let's see, this part, after I attach that to the sink underneath, then I'm going to screw that onto there. This is going to go on, ooh, I don't know. I think they gave this as an extra because I don't think that's needed now. Because the old one had a nut on it. We'll just let's look at that. That goes up. And it goes up all the way. Now this one here, I think, just gets screwed in. That's it? Oh no, it goes up. Let's see here. No, I'm wrong. Okay, that goes. You see, I'm gonna have to look at that a little bit closer, but I think this gets shoved down. This gets shoved down here. I think that's what happens. This is the handheld. It gets screwed into that. Okay. And then this comes down and comes out right there, see? And then you've got that nut that just screws up there, and that doesn't attach to anything. It just keeps this sleeve from sliding in there nice. So when this gets all the way down, see, like that, and that goes in there. You follow? You follow me? Then underneath, this weight gets attached. It just slips on there on the outside and snaps on, so it slides on here. And then this gets plugged in and you just snap it in. And you push, you got to depress this a little bit, and then it'll push in. It will push in. Oh, I see. This is a little protector cover. You got to pull that off, and then that gets snapped in there. And then if you want to disconnect it, you push, there's a little push button, and then that pops back out. Let's see, there's not a whole lot to this per se. This piece gets slid in later. You don't even have to worry about that right now. Okay? That gets slid in later. I mean, they really do a good thing with faucets nowadays. All right, so one nut. Can you believe that? One stinking nut attaches this and this here up underneath that, up underneath the sink, and one nut holds the whole thing. That's kind of amazing. And then we'll line this up. Do we want it to the right? Do we want it to the left? And we don't want it cocked at an angle. I usually try to keep that straight across, so as I tighten that up from underneath, I'm going to have to come up here after I get it kind of snug, slide it exactly where I want it, reach underneath there again, tighten it up. If you had two people here, one person can hold that exactly where they want. They can hand you things. It makes it a little bit easier, but if you're just on your own, like VideoJoe, just know that you can do it. Okay? All right, so that's kind of the guts on how this all works. Okay? And I'm ready for the next step. What is the next step? Okay, this is where it gets a little bit trickier when you're doing it by yourself. I've already snapped this little plastic goodie into place. The rubber gasket is facing down, and this plastic insert has a lip on it. See how it sticks up? And that is going to go on my faucet here. And see, this is where your directions might want to come into play, like which way does that gasket go? And I'm pretty sure it faces up in there, and then there's a lip on this that fits over it, and I know that's how it's going to be. It's not going to be this other way because this needs to fit flat on there, okay, and that needs to fit up in there. Okay, so I've got to slide this up like that. That makes sense? Now that's going to set on top of that, around that flange. And I take this. I could just leave that red thing on there. I can cut it off later. And now, see, that's all gonna be like that, right? You see what I mean? Now I'm going to have to take that and slip it down through the opening. And like I say, when you're here by yourself, it's a little bit tricky, but we'll get it. We'll get her. Okay, you can see that. I made sure this is all dry now, wiped off. I cleaned it as best I could. I can still feel a slight little ridge there. I tried to get that off. And I don't think I'm going to mess with it anymore. If I had maybe a razor blade, I might be able to try to get that, but I don't think I'm going to mess with it. This cover should pretty much cover all of that, okay? And so now my next step is to slide this into position. And like I say, with one person, it's not that difficult. I think that red thing will go through there. Okay, there, yeah, you can see that. Okay, and now I can push that one in there. Okay, and I want to make sure that plastic sleeve is right. And once I start tightening up, now see, I can let go. If this starts flopping around, once I put the nut up under there in this washer, remember this goodie here, I've still got to slip that up from underneath, put this little nut on underneath. Oh, that's the old one, so I got to have my new one, and use my little tool here and stuff, and my Phillips screwdriver as a crank. Then I'll look at that, line that up, come back here, line this up, and all that before I tighten it up so everything looks right. The only thing I'm not sure about, I've installed one of these at the condo too, pretty much the same as this, and most faucets used to be where you can adjust that to have it stop to the left where you want, or have it stop to the right, have it stop to the left where you want. Look at this. It goes all the way around. And I think once I tighten up the nut under there, I think that's still going to be like that. And son of a gun, I'm not sure if there's any way to make it stop here and there. I think once all is said and done, you're going to have it here, you're going to slide it over, you're going to slide it over, and you can do whatever, slide it out of the way, slide it out of the way, and maybe that's why they do that. But if you have the water turned on like that, some kids are messing around, you got your water over there, but I looked and looked on directions on the other one that I installed, couldn't find out anything. This one's doing the same thing, and maybe the directions on the this scanning thing will tell me some sort of trick secret that I don't know. I have no idea, no clue whatsoever. Okay, so once and I'm not going to worry about it. And once I put that in there and tighten it, then I'm going to see. In fact, I can kind of look and see where I visually want to see this end up, you know, because I can slide it to the right or to the left and front and backwards. And this base, lots of times they're the same as the other ones. Well, this one kind of dive bombs in on both sides to make this round bit a little bit smaller than the other one. The other one went straight across, and I can see exactly where that last little bit is. And I'm just going to have to do the best that I can and maybe try to clean that off after the fact. You know, I don't know if I can get it any cleaner. I might leave it and tell Auntie and maybe the cleaner has some idea. Their cleaner that comes in here once a month or whatever has an idea how to get that off. Maybe I can try a little razor blade later, but I just kind of looking at that now before I get everything situated, okay, so that I know where to put it. And it looks like this one might just slightly be a little shorter too. Okay, so with all that said, I'm going to have to look at it, make a determination. Once I get this nut, this washer and the nut in from underneath, before I cinch it down all the way, I'll come back up here and kind of slide it around how I want, go back under, tighten it up a little bit more, double check it again, and check out this, make sure this is in line with this as I tighten it up. See, there's a couple different things I'll have to kind of check on. You see what I mean? All right, so that's my next step, getting back underneath there. And maybe I'll hold that way, and that'll keep this from tilting down. For now, I'll get underneath there and put my washer, my little metal nut on there with my wrench here. And like I said, with this wrench, after I tighten it, I'll tighten it hand tight. Then I'll come up here and check it again. When I want to tighten it all the way, I'll hold that back up there, reposition this wherever I can get my screwdriver under there, put my screwdriver in there and use that as a crank. Just to tighten this up a little bit more and get it in there again, and just a little bit so I get it nice and snug, because only one nut is going to keep this tight. Okay, that's my next step, my next few steps as a matter of fact. Okay, I've been underneath the sink 3 times so far, no lie. Got one more to go. I put it up there almost all the way, and then resituated, make sure the plastic sleeve was under there in the proper place before I went back under there and hand tightened it. And then I came back here and kind of adjusted it, slid it where I thought it should be, tightened it as hard as I could, like that. Okay, now before I cinch it down, where's my my Phillips? Before I cinch it down like that, remember underneath, as I go like that, and I can grab it and twist it. Before I do that, I'm going to take some final measurements, make sure I got this exactly where I want. I've checked this from left to right. I looked underneath, it looks about right. And this is now attached to here, so if I were to slide this one way or another like that, this is going to do the same. So now I can look at that and kind of eyeball that to go straight. The other thing I could do is take a tape measure, and I could measure. That's making the assumption that these tiles in the back are perfectly where they're supposed to be, mind you. Okay, in fact, I'd probably have to run it from the center and come out to the sink edge maybe. And eyeballing that, short 2 inches, and I come over on this side. Yeah, you can see that. And that looks about a short 2 inches. I know that's going about right. The worst thing is, after you install something, I got a pretty good eye, and I'll always see if something's installed crooked or something. And the last thing you want is to have your sink, your faucet cover slightly askew one way or another. You know what I mean? Because then it doesn't look nice and straight. This one looks good. It looks pretty much in the center of that, which it's supposed to. And I try to slide it that way just a hair, and it's still, it. In fact, maybe I should go that way just a little. Okay, not much. I think it's about where the old one was, and that's not to say that your old one exactly lined up right. Your face trim. And if your face trim is slightly off, another reason why to try to clean this the best you can. If your other one is slightly off to the left or to the right or askew, do you want to make this one the same as your old one? Have it askew, or do you want it to look nice and straight? And you can do that if you keep this nice and clean and straight. You know what I mean? Okay, so I'm liking that. Okay, I think I'm gonna live with that. Right there. This is on, off, cold, and hot. One way's cold and hot. This is on, off, I believe, and then it's hot and cold. Maybe off is right in there somewhere. I'm not quite sure. We'll soon find out. I think it's right there, and hot must not be turned very far. That's something. We'll see. We'll see. It might be just slightly. Yeah, good grief. I'll be curious to see how that is. Now, I'm mainly focused on that, making sure that's straight. You know what I mean? Okay, so now I'm going to get under there and tighten it up with this. That's my next step. Okay, I got it pretty tight, and this thing flexes a little bit, and a couple places I had to push it in further to get it beyond something else, and I used both hands and tightened it up a little bit and stuff, and I made it as firm as I could without trying to break anything down there. You know what I mean? I got it pretty tight. All right, and I'm just gonna look at this. I don't think anything moved while I was down there because I had it pretty tight to begin with. You see what I mean? When you're doing it by yourself, obviously there's certain things you got to do differently. Okay, now I'm going to save this. I'm going to make sure I know exactly where that is and stuff. And what is my next step? Well, my next step, I can slide this. I can slide this through there. Okay. I can do that. Or before this, I can hook up the hot and cold water lines. I mean, should I do that first? Should I do this first? And it's important when you get it this far, you don't want to let this slip and get caught up in there, okay? Because you might not be able to get it back down or something like that. And you know, I can put that on there and not tighten it up all the way. And because you might have some grubby hands now, you can take this off of there. And it used to be that they had an aerator cover tool that you could loosen this up from the front. And I don't think if you ever wanted, if this ever got clogged, you'd have to loosen that up a different way. They used to come with a little tool. I don't see one anywhere. But you'd have to unscrew that, pull that out. You could clean the cover. I'm just going to do that to keep my grubby fingerprints off of there. Put this on, and this has a gasket on there. Okay, I'm not going to tighten it up just yet. Okay, I'm just going to make it snug in case I happen to pull it out too far and down there. Okay, and see, once I have it connected, it may be like this until I put the weight on. Then I have to figure out exactly where to do it, and this will help pull the hose ka-clunk, like that. And some have an actual little distinct clip thing in here. This one I'm not seeing that, and so this weight is going to hold that down. So you see how after I connect that underneath, I'm going to have to position this in the exact right spot and clamp it on there. Remember this comes apart like that. This was for this little thing here was just for shipping purposes. Then I'm going to wrap that around the pipe that I just pushed down in there, snap it on, and then that's going to kind of hold it snug on there. And then when I pull this out, this is going to go up from underneath. As I push it in here, this is going to position. You got to position this exactly where you want it, and then that's going to help it go ka-clunk. You know what I mean? And that's how that's going to work. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I just want you to see all the different things I'm doing now. I've got to decide, do I want to leave this or not? I'll look at the pipes down there, cut that red thing off the one for the hot water side. I know which one that is, and then make sure that when I put the hot and cold water line pipes up there, it's not going to be in the way of this. I can always pull this out. See, I can always pull this out and reposition things down there. Make sure this is going in exactly where I want it down there, because lots of times you might find, oh, maybe I need to adjust that pipe one way or another, because the last thing you want is for this to hit your hot and cold water line, your valve, your gate valve. Maybe you have to rearrange your handles instead of that way, have it straight up and down. You know, things like that. So this is not going to hit something. Every time you pull this out, you hear this, you know, underneath your sink every time you pull this out. You know what I mean? Okay. All right, step by step, we're doing it. Remember that thing was on there, and I thought, good grief, how am I supposed to cut that off? And all I did was take my cutters right at the bottom there, and that snapped off, and right there, and then that popped open. And see, that's the tag. If somebody tried to steal it from the store, isn't that slick? They put it right there in the middle of that. And maybe, you know what, maybe that's why they left that there, but it was kind of nice that they also had that red, and they put that on the red hot water line. But I think that was more so for the security thing. Okay, so I got that out of there, because last thing you want is for this to be in the way of your new weight sliding up and down too. You know what I mean? Okay, onward, JoJo. Okay, I'm just holding the camera now. You see, we've got the hot and cold water line, and we've also got that one coming up for the handheld nozzle, the adjustable nozzle. So my main focus is on the hot and cold water line, and you never know how your connections are. This one's happened to facing down, this one's facing down at a slight angle. Yours might be facing up, they might be facing sideways. So however I'm going to have to do it, I'm going to have to arrange these long pipes in such a way to where they're going to connect on there. Okay, and that's why I think I'm going to pull this one out of the way for right now. and then do a trial run and kind of hold those up there where I want. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of get this out of the way because I know I can, right? I don't have that little nut installed yet. This plastic nut. All that is to protect this from sliding up and down. This is braided wire. If you didn't have that nut, you'd probably be okay. But that, you know, once that's on there, it just gives this sliding ability instead of you kind of rubbing on that copper pipe. Yeah, it's probably best that that's on there. Okay, and I don't have to worry about this right just yet. You know what I mean? Now I'll get down there and I'll look at those and see what I have to do. And as for that, if those gate valves were really super old, do something slightly different. These don't look that bad, and the threads look fine, and these ends already have the little washer in there. They're really designed that you don't need to have Teflon tape on your threads. Now, lots of times I stress using Teflon tape. Here's the Teflon tape. It's just this white tape, okay? Very thin, and there's a right and wrong way to put Teflon tape on. Did you know that? Yes, there is. You got to wrap it in the same direction. But when you tear it off, after you have it wrapped on there, and you tear it off, it's got to be going in the same direction as your nut that you put on there. So when you're tightening your nut, it's tightening the thread, the Teflon tape onto your threads. Does that make sense? If you had that the opposite direction, yeah, you'll still get the nut on there, but your Teflon tape is going to slide. It's going to slide the wrong way as you're trying to tighten it, the nut that way. Your Teflon tape is wanting to loosen that way, and eventually it might not hold. It's designed to go up on the other way. Now I could put that on the threads, but I don't think I'm going to. There was nothing on the old one. The old one was not leaking. As long as you make these nice and snug as a bug and a rug, you should be fine without using the Teflon tape. If you feel more comfortable putting the Teflon tape on, if that was old, and I was going to use it somewhere, it looked all rusty and stuff, I would put the Teflon tape on there. If I end up using this, maybe I'm going to use this faucet somewhere else because we determined it wasn't really leaking anywhere other than around the rubber gasket and around this. I could put some pipe dope on there. I could put some white caulking on there. I could re-caulk it after it was installed. If I was going to do something like that and I was using these old ones, and because like right now, I would put the Teflon tape on there. And don't kid yourself. Here's the other thing. If you're going to end up thinking you're going to use this for something later on, and you leave it sitting in the garage for a couple months, you think, oh yeah, I'll put that on so-and-so's kitchen faucet when I need it in 6 months down the road. You go and do it. Could it possibly leak? Yeah, it could possibly leak because the little gasket in there is pliable right now, and it's rubber. And can you see if it dries out and the rubber gasket gets hard as a rock, and when you put it back on, it might leak. Okay, another reason why if I were to ever use that one again, I'd probably use Teflon tape. Okay, so you choose what you're going to do, and I know this one here had said hot. It says hot on there, see? Hot side. And the hot water side is over there. Cold water side is usually on the right. Now, what I could have done before I shut the sink off, if your faucet is still running, before you take it off, run it right to left. You should know. You should know, because if they were mixed up, sometimes plumbers will mix them up, believe it or not. I've had a couple where I would turn the hot water side on a bathroom sink and the cold water would come on, vice versa, and it's because they flip-flop those, and the guy who installed it, oh yeah, well, you know, when we hook up the sink faucet, we'll know that on this one in the right hand corner, the guest bathroom. I'll tell the flunky, whoever installs it, I'll tell him, my helper, that they have to flip-flop the pipes when they go to it, that the hot's going to be over here and the cold's going to be over here, and then they forget to do it. And they ask somebody, hey, did you get that all installed? Yep, it's all done. Okay, fine. The inspector doesn't care what you've done. And the next person who uses the sink faucet, they're switched, and you've got to mess around with it. But I'm going to make sure this is, I'm going to make the assumption that that side's the hot side. I'm pretty sure it is. Or my aunt would have said something. You would know one way or another, if this is your sink, which side it's going to be. Okay, and so I'm going to have to get under there and contour this. And these are stiff, and believe it or not, you can make them work. Okay, and I'm going to have to see what I have to do with them. You could actually make a whole loop-de-loo on it if this was facing up, because you'd have to take the new pipes and then have them go up and down and around. So these, you'd think, oh man, this is stiff. Is it gonna bend like that? You don't want to put a kink in it, obviously, but you can make tight curves in them and stuff like that. Okay, so I'm gonna have to do that and then look and see how that's gonna work. Maybe screw them on there, look at it, see if they need to be done a different way, so that they don't get in the way of the weight, for this when I put this on. Okay, all right, that's my next step. I'm just going to put these on, and I've got to make sure these are fine threads, and you want to make sure you put them on there that you can do them finger tight. You don't want to get it started and think, okay, yeah, I can't tighten it anymore. I'll just get my wrench out and start turning. You turn it and turn it and turn it, and all you're doing is stripping the threads. You're cross-threading it because you don't have it on there nice and straight. And it might take me a little bit to move it just a little bit more and make sure it's going at the exact angle. See, this one's going down at a little bit of an angle. This one's going down a little bit more of an angle. So I just have to be aware of that when I put those on there. I want to get them on. If you can't start twisting that with your fingers, you don't have it on there nice and straight. Okay, make sure it's nice and straight. Finger tighten it first. Okay, before you start tightening it down with a crescent wrench. And like I say, I'm just going to do it hand tight for right now. Make sure they're going in there so I can see if it's okay to put this. If not, I may have to do a different loop on there, or know that, okay, after I do that, maybe I take a little tie wire or zip tie or something and pull them over one direction or another or something like that. Last thing you want is for your weight, your new weight that goes on here, to hit anything underneath the sink. Okay, very important. Now these went nice and easy. Kaboom, kaboom, and that looks good. Now see, before I put the cover on, if I had to put this over like that, I could do that, or it can be like that. I could put a little zip tie down here at the bottom. These pieces, if I push them back when I put the cover on here, and if I face it to the left or right, if I put this on to the left, straight across, that'll keep this from pooching out later on. I could do the same thing over there, but this one looks like if I put it to the left, see, I might do that. There's enough flex on there, and I can put the cover on there on the valve and put it from left to right. That'll keep that from sliding out. This one will keep this one from sliding. This will keep this from sliding. I think that's fine like that. Do you see what I mean? Every sink is slightly different. Okay, here's where this thing's going to clip in. I've got that. That can be kind of positioned however. Okay, and I think I'm, because of that, before I put the handle covers on, I call the handle covers. I don't know if you saw me. I don't think you saw me take those off. These are my covers to the hot and cold water line. I'll put those on going from left to right, left to right. Tighten those down. But before I put those, because I pulled them off, now I can take my crescent wrench carefully and tighten those two nuts down. Can you see that makes it easier to tighten those nuts down without the covers on the gate valves, the water valves? You see what I mean? And so I'm going to hold those carefully because those aren't copper pipes. That's a plastic pipe and a plastic pipe. These are springy a little bit, so I'm kind of hold that while I tighten that nut. And it's very important to just tighten those snug as a bug in a rug. Don't try to over tighten them. If you over tighten them, you could screw up the threads. I've done it before. I've done it before, and I'm like, what is going on? Maybe I can make it a little tighter, and then it was leaking. Maybe I can tighten it up a little bit more, and it was leaking more. And for the life of me, I could not get it. I had to run back to the store and get an extension piece, put it back together, and retighten it, put Teflon tape on there, hold my mouth just right, pray, and do a little jig, and it's still holding to this day as far as I know. Okay, so now I'm going to tighten up those two nuts snug as a bug in a rug. Now trust me, when I say snug, I don't mean over tighten. This wrench, I could over tighten those nuts. I could over tighten those nuts if I wanted without realizing it. The tighter the better. No, you want it snug and just a little bit extra oomph, and that's it. And I'm going to leave it about where I think it needs to be, okay? And worst case scenario, after I turn the water back on and all that kind of stuff, if it's just barely dripping from there, then I can come down here and put my wrench on there and go a 1/16 of a turn, let's say, and that's it. And then try it again. If it's still leaking, 1/16 of a turn, that's it. And if it's still leaking, it might mean you cross-threaded something. It might mean that your threads are so old it's not gonna stop leaking unless you put Teflon tape on there. Okay, and then try it again, and all that kind of stuff. But I got it pretty good. I feel pretty confident it's not going to leak. And I'll flop this back. I'll flop that back over before I put the handles back on. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the handles on now, and that will be my next step. Here's something I don't want you to miss. Before I put those on there, could I have reached in there from here and tightened those down? Yeah, I could have, but I didn't. I got down on my back and I shimmied back through there so I could hold my hand up there underneath there nice and snug before I tighten that. I didn't want to go too much because you'll know what I'm talking about. You're trying to tighten that, and you might be putting pressure on that pipe at the same time pulling out. Last thing you want is for one of those to pop off or something like that, okay? And so I kind of hold it together, and it kind of helped me determine how tight to make those nuts. And that's why I crawled back in there on my back again. Hey, could I have done it the other way? Yeah. But I wanted to be safe rather than sorry. I gotta laugh. Did you catch that when I was telling you what way to put those on from left to right or whatever? That's not gonna be it. Once I turn the water back on, if this is still not going exactly where I want, I could unscrew it, take the end off, and then swivel it to where I want, and then screw it back in, right? Because once I turn it on, this could be facing up or something. But you see that one to the left, that's exactly where I want it, at the angle, so that this pipe for the cold water doesn't want to slip out. I don't think it ever will, but see, this one for the hot water, now that I tightened everything up, it's pushing back. Probably doesn't matter which direction this is, but if I want it If this ever wants to do something later on, I could readjust that. However, once I turn the water back on. Obviously, I'm not ready to turn the water on yet, right? Because I got to snap that in and put this on. So that's my next step. Okay, so my next step is I want to put this, slip this under here. I've already got the end on, and before everything is all said and done, I've got to remember to tighten this up just slightly with my crescent wrench. Okay, I'm not going to do it right now, but I have to remember to do that, right? Because if I need to pull this back out again, I don't want to keep loosening this, tightening it, loosening it, tightening it. But the idea with that one too is you should not have to use Teflon tape on those threads. But if you have an old one, 15 years old, and it's leaking there, and you've tightened up the nut here and it's still dripping there, and you don't know it until this is up in here and it's in here and it drips down in there, and you need to fix that, and you think, oh, I need a new faucet, undo that, put some Teflon tape around those threads, and then screw it on there again nice and snug and see what happens, and that might fix your leak. Okay, so now that I got that up there, I've got to what do I have to do now? I've got to put this nut, slip that sleeve up there, remember, and then just tighten it snug. I don't have to over tighten it or anything like that, or put it up there and take a pair of pliers and just go like that, just a little bit, even a crescent wrench, whatever. Okay, I don't really think I'm gonna have to pull this back out, but I've got to remember to tighten that up. Okay, you need to remind me on that, right? I'm gonna push this up there, and then I've got to determine where this goes down there to check the proper up and down, in and out on that. Lots of times, like I say, there's something where you can push this up and it just stops. Well, this one doesn't have that, does it? There's nothing under there that would catch that. I don't quite like that. A lot of times with these, what happens after a while, something gets worn on there, and then every time you push it up, it doesn't want to stay, and it pulls down, and forevermore you've got this sink faucet like this. You know what I mean? Well, first off, you need to make sure this is adjusted properly underneath your sink. Secondly, you got to make sure you even have one of these. If you don't have one, you can buy these at local hardware stores. Okay, and we got to make sure that's positioned properly, don't we? Underneath there. Okay, all right. Okay, I tighten that up. Remember, this has that little plastic goodie, and that when it comes, this plastic is protecting the end. Pull that off, and there you've got your hole. You've got your little gasket right there, and I'm going to take that and I'm going to clip it in. Okay, where am I going to clip it? Do you remember? I'm going to pull you off of here. Humor me here for a minute. And this thing here, right here, I'm just going to push it up in that, and it's going to snap and clip right in. And so see, this is going to be down here like that. And in fact, I wonder if I can do it just with my hand, my left hand. Let's see. There. You see there? Look at that. I clipped it in already. Okay. You see what I mean about this? I've got to make sure that's pulled down all the way. See, as I pull that down, that goes up, see? Boing. And I'm going to want to put that kind of towards the bottom. Not up too high, but down to the bottom, but high enough up so that it gives that a little bit oomph. So it's close to the bottom, but off to the left a little bit from where this goes up and down. Make sense? Okay, that's what I'm going to try next. And I like this one because all you do is unsnap it, and pull it apart. And I'll do that next, and we'll see how that works out. Okay, and if I have to, then I have to unclip it again and say, okay, just up a little bit higher, just down a little bit lower, and check it up and down, up and down. As you can see, this pipe here that's coming down, it's hitting the edge right here. So if I put this too low, as you pull this up and down, depending, it might hit the edge of this every single time. You know what I mean? And so for that reason, I might want it just above this so that when they raise it up, there's enough room to pull it out of there without it hitting that. You don't want to hit that ka-clunk, ka-clunk, ka-clunk every single time you pull this out. But if I put that right there, that means I only have from here to there, I only have a foot and maybe 18 inches to pull this out, maybe about that far. Is that enough for you? That's probably enough. Because if I needed to pull it out any further, then that weight would hit the bottom. You see what I mean? So I'm going to have to check that out, and I think I'll be fine. I'll show you what that looks like next. Okay, I have not tried it yet, but as I pushed it together, I could feel it go snug on there. And see how I got the end of that ball maybe about an inch from where it hits that pipe, and I've got it up tight. I have not tried it yet. I don't like trying things before I show you. Okay, so let's just try this out here. See, it's up tight now, right? I'm going to pull it out. I let go of it. Look at that. Pull it out. That gives me plenty. Psh, psh, psh. And then I want to lift it a little bit, and it goes right up into place. Why? Because I've got that situated right. It's not hitting the hot or cold water lines. The back of that, it's not hitting this. This pipe is allowed, the water line is allowed to flow easily up and down. You see here? It's not hitting anything. It's not hitting the garbage disposal pipe. It's not hitting the drain pipe, not the hot, cold water line, not this line, not the wire for the garbage disposal, because I'll plug that back in. It's going nice, isn't it? See? Had I put that lower down here where I was telling you, then every time you pull this up, you would hear it hit on that and then come down, and sometimes it might stick on there and you might have to hold it and have it go ka-clunk. And if you have an old sink faucet and it's hitting, maybe you can redirect it somehow, look at it and see if you can loosen that up and reposition that. See, I reposition that up high rather than down low, and here it is. Isn't that nice? And this is designed to slip either way, swivel around, because it's on that little swivel head, and there's a swivel on there, so see, you can turn this whole thing. I kind of like that too. Some of them didn't have that before. Now remember, I got to tighten that up with my wrench. So one little oomph, and I'll be fine with that. And then I'm going to plug the garbage disposal back in, and we're going to do it. We're going to run it for a test drive. What do you think? We're going to turn it back on and see if we got any leaks. That's coming up. Now see, so far, have I shown you anything that you think you can't do? I don't think so, is my answer to you. I'm just average. I'm not a professional plumber. You don't have to be a professional plumber for this. You saw how I think it was easy to do this, and you probably save yourself $300 is my guess. $250, $300 for a plumber. If somebody says, "Oh, hey, you could have got that done for $125," I think I would have to respectfully disagree with you. These times and ages now, everything seems to go up, 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 up. Plumbers, professional installers for any kind of thing around your house, yeah, their prices are up too, because all their prices are up. Okay, so remember I said that aerator fitting wasn't in here, and I don't think they come with them anymore. That's kind of disheartening. Now, here they've got a label. You could put that label somewhere, save that. I would save that. I would save this. I would take a picture of that in case you want that for later on. You've got it on your phone or whatever. You could save the box, whatever. Okay, so my next step, I've got to tighten this. I can't forget that. That's what I'm going to do now. And I don't have a problem showing you me tightening that up. I got my little trusty crescent wrench here. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. And I'm just going to make it snug. I'm not gonna overdo it. Okay? There. That's it. Like I say, everything's plastic nowadays. You just have to be careful with things. Okay? I'm going to leave it right like that, and then I'm going to check everything out. I'm going to run it through a test drive, and if it happens to leak, I can tighten it one little 16th. Last thing I want is to try to over tighten that and screw up the threads or something. Now, if I screwed up the threads, I put Teflon tape on there. I have to put a gob of Teflon tape on there, and that actual double twirls around there a little bit more than what I normally would do, and then hold my mouth just right and hope and pray that it wouldn't leak, or else I'd have to take the whole thing back. Why? Because I over tightened that one nut? Come on. You know, they don't make things like they used to, let me tell you. Okay, so now am I pretty much done? I got to plug in the garbage disposal. And I look under there, I made sure those were tight. Oh, and after I turn the water back on, I'll look at those handles to see if I need to then unscrew the end with, I can do that with the water on, just the end, you know what I mean? Just the end piece, just the one little screw on the outside, and then wiggle that a little bit and then reposition that. That's right, I still have to do that. Okay, and then I'll be pretty much done. I'm gonna leave this for right now. I think my next step, you just think about different things. Look at your project. Think, okay, is there anything else that needs to be done? I don't think there is. And let's go ahead and turn the water back on. So that's what I'm gonna do next. Oh, and while I do that, man, what I used to do is if they had the little tool for the aerator, I would unscrew that. Nuts. I could still do it. I think I'll be fine. I'm going to take my chances, okay? Because I was thinking I could unscrew that, turn the water back on, flush out the system. If there's anything in the water line, it'll come through here. It's going to get caught in here. If I take this out now, I would have to be real careful for this not to go ka-clunk, ka-clunk like that, and not be able to pull that little bit out of there without disconnecting the whole thing and fishing it back out. You see what I mean? So as I turn the water on, I'm going to leave that on like that. I'll just show you, no monkey business. No monkey business. We'll just see here. This water should go on nice and fine. I'm going to turn the hot and cold water on now. I'm just going to turn the cold on for right now. Come on. And that handle was even hard to get off, or to get on. Just because it's 20 years old, it's plastic, I always gotta kind of hold my mouth just right, and that's full blast. Look at that. That's full blast on the cold. I'm gonna turn the hot water side on now. heck of a time turning those on. Okay. Now that should be, I don't know if that's hot or cold. I'm not sure right now. Oh, you know what it is? I think you just have it like that, and it's probably cold. And then if you want hot, you got to turn it all the way down to like that, and then like that. And this can be wherever to turn it on and off. See? But and there might not be any more water pressure than that. Let's see here. Because the aerator might be an aerator such as only so many gallons per minute or something, and it's throwing out lots of air, and that's a good thing. You don't need any more water than this. You know, plus it doesn't splash on you. You can hold your hand there, you can wash your dishes, you can rinse off, and it doesn't come any harder than that. You don't need any harder than that. Right? Now I'm going to turn it up that way. I think that's hot. Yeah, that's hot, okay? Ooh. Okay. That's cold. Would it matter if I flipped them? I have no idea, probably. Yeah, it would. Okay. And then this. Oh, come on. What's the deal? This is supposed to come out. Ah, good grief. I don't know why that's not coming out. Could something have caught in there? In the nozzle? Now I'm gonna have to pull that apart. I'm gonna have to pull this apart and then hold my mouth just right to make sure this doesn't go ka-clunk, or else I have to undo the weight in there or put some masking tape around here or something. Isn't that odd? This should spray. How come it's not? Oh, there we go. Scared me. I'm not going to pull it apart. Oh, jeez. Oh, brother. The bottom. You have to push the bottom, and that's your sprayer. See? And then you just push that, and it's in the middle. And if you push the top, it goes off. I don't know why you want that. I mean, would you ever need that? And push the bottom. Oh, that's nice. I'm liking that. Okay. I think we've done it, VideoJoe. This pops in nice, see? We've got the weight adjusted right. We've got that tightened up. We've got everything done. This is lined up right. It almost looks like you knew what you were doing. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that run for a few minutes. Okay, I'm going to let it run, and then I'm going to take my video camera, or my I've got my light. I got my light down here, and I'm going to have to look at this and see if it's dripping. And son of a gun, I see there's a little bit of water there, and I'm going to have to shine my flashlight up there and see where it's coming from, and see if I need to tighten anything up. Alright, so that's my next step. Now you want to double check. Okay? And make sure everything's running fine and there's no leaks. I thought I had seen some water down there. I wiped it up, and I'm still running the line and wiping. Got my light under there, and I don't see any water now. That was weird. What would have caused that? Maybe as I was turning the gate valves on, something dripped until I had it open all the way. I don't know, but I'm not. Last thing I'm going to do is start checking these valves. You don't want to be checking those under pressure and stuff. That wasn't part of this project. I wiped everything up. Everything's dry as a bone right now. And I'm going to let it run a little bit longer. Yes, unfortunately I'm wasting a little bit of water while I'm doing this. But I want to double check and make sure I don't see any drips. And then if I do, I'll have to go under there and see if it's dripping from the nut that's tightened up on the cold water side, on the hot water side. I'm seeing where the valve is. That's fine. Where the handle is, I don't have to reposition that. I don't really have to reposition that. I'll just tighten those screws. I made them snug before. Okay, they're almost snug, so I'll tighten those up and see what's going on here and hope that there's no leaks. Last thing you want is a leak. And like I say, if it was from the nut that you attach to the cold water side or the hot water side, if it's dripping from there, you'd have to take a wrench, hold your hand up there, get on your back, hold your wrench up there, and tighten it just a little, not very much, and then see if that stops. Wipe the water up, because like I said, you don't want to over tighten those. And then once you get it and you tighten it just a little bit more, you think, oh, okay, I think I got it. And then if it's not dripping, just leave it. Don't go any further. See what I mean? All right. I'm thinking that's gonna do it. But I'm gonna, as I'm cleaning up, I'm going to let the water run a little bit longer, and make sure there's no water dripping. And you know, even if there is water dripping, you look under there, maybe it has nothing to do with what you touch. Maybe it has something to do, and it was leaking somewhere else. Maybe it was leaking around the edge of one of your strainers. And you looked up there, son of a gun, the water was coming out, dripping down here, running down here, dripping, drip, drip off of there. You know, one little drip every 15 seconds, where it's dripping off of this, where it's dripping at the bottom. Find out where it is, and you know, count yourself lucky that you found it. Last thing you want is for anything to start dripping. And because if you got anything underneath here, dry stuff or whatever, you get water dripping on there, you may not know it for months until you start smelling something and you have some rags down there, you had something else down there. She's got most stuff in little plastic bin containers, or she's setting it there, and it should be fine. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna just hang out and keep checking that before I call it good. Okay? Now I'm still letting it run. I should probably run it on cold water. Even if you got it on hot water, it's still mixing the water, but run it on both to make sure that it's not dripping anywhere. And as for that weight, I wanted to point out, as for that weight, I was looking at this cold water line that zipped along that way and on up, and this is not hitting the back. If that was down a little bit and it was rubbing on that every single time, that would make a noise. So I could take that off, raise it up a ½ an inch if I wanted. But I, you know, I think it's okay. But you know what? I might just do that. I'll just raise it up a little bit into the yellow and snap it back on. Okay, I've got that garbage disposal plug back in, and then I'll stick the cabinet door back on. Before I do that, after I determine all of this, there's no leaks, no nothing, I might do a once over wiping that out. I've made sure the screws were tight, and then I'll put all the stuff back underneath the sink before I put the door on. Last thing you want is to put the door on and accidentally bump it and spring the hinges. You know what I mean? Especially well, for any kind of spring or any type of hinge for that matter. Okay, so I got the door over there, and there's a definite little mark I can see on here from where the other one was, so make sure I put it on like for like, exactly where I found it before. and then I'll put all of her stuff away, wipe the counters off, get all this other stuff away, wipe down anything. Here, she had some stuff on the counter over here. I've got my stuff over here. And I'll clean this up and make it look like nobody was ever here. That's how you want to leave a job when you say you're done. I'm still checking for leaks, but whenever I think of something I want to include in a video, I just turn on my video camera and go for it. This is all I ended up using on this project. Can you believe that? That's it. That's all I use. That's not to say that you can do something like that. In fact, you might even need some channel locks. Chances are you won't need any channel locks, but I had some channel locks here in case I needed them. And you might need needle nose like that, or bigger vice grips like that, or 2 crescent wrenches. If they had nuts, the old style, and if the pipe came up to something else and you needed to undo those nuts, you'd have to take 1 wrench. You need 2 crescent wrenches, or you need a crescent wrench and a pair of pliers or something like that to undo those. And I wish I could tell you on this one, but I've got other videos on my channel that show you how to undo those types of nuts, and how to tighten those types of nuts, and how to put Teflon tape on, and how to do all kinds of stuff. How to install a garbage disposal, how to install a trap, how to install a dishwasher, how to install a sink, how to install an air gap or not an air gap. All that kind of stuff on my YouTube channel. Go to my playlist on my main YouTube channel page. Click on plumbing, or scroll down through there. Click on playlist, scroll down. You might see mini kitchen videos, or mini plumbing videos, or plumbing. It's going to be underneath one of those, or 2 different ones. Like how to install a dishwasher, how to do anything on a dishwasher might be under plumbing, might also be under dishwasher, for example. Same thing with garbage disposal. How to unclog a garbage disposal, how to unclog a sink, how to install a sink strainer, how the sink goes on, how the sink strainers go on, just about anything having to do with stuff underneath the sink and the kitchen sink, and underneath the kitchen sink, and all that kind of stuff. Go check out my channel there for more learning and more saving. Okay, I'm gonna put this thing back together and finalize everything with you in a minute. Here's one more thing I'm going to do after I get all cleaned up. I'm going to take my simple green. Yep, I'm going to take my simple green. I'm going to spray it in the sink, wipe that out. I'm going to use a better sponge, by the way, and spray it down the counter. Spray down this counter, wipe that off. Spray down this, wipe this off. I'm going to wipe the cabinet back out, the bottom, and all that kind of stuff, so that when they get here, it's going to look like I was never here. They're going to be impressed to think that you, an average Joe, did it. One more important thing I wanted to tell you. I got everything restacked and positioned in there. You want to make sure I've got a container bucket in there. You want to make sure that when you put stuff in there, you don't push things back so far that it's going to encroach in your pipe that comes up for this, and with your weight. Okay, you want to make sure that's free. The other end of your pipe, you don't want anything back there to disturb that when you pull it up and down. Okay, just thought I would remind you of that before you call it good. Okay, hey, I'm all done. Got everything cleaned up, wiped down, put away, put the door back on. There's your finished product. Now I know if I can do it in Average Joe, you can do it too. That ends our video series on how to install a kitchen sink faucet. Oh yeah. Well, that's all I got for this time. But I'll be back with more videos. Hope to see you then. Out.